Alright guys, so it looks like Peter Parker is finally shaking off the funk and gearing up to throw the Spider-Man suit back on. But things aren't that simple. There's a Scion in the picture, and the question is she really on Peter Parker's side, or is she just following her own moral code? Meanwhile, another Scion is out here spreading the blight across the entire planet. Oh, and over in the X-Men corner, they're busy trying to take each other out. Welcome back to Keepin' It Comic. Today, we're diving once again into the 8 depths of Spider-Man. Now look, at this point, Cyra's gotten to the point where we all have been with Peter. She's over this whole pity party he's been having. She legit grabs him by the back of his shirt and drags him into the middle of the battlefield. And the X-Men have their hands full with these hounds. And Peter notices they're in the middle of the feast. Now, I'm gonna stop right here and just let it be known. I think if any of you guys watched my last video, you felt the same way as me when you seen these hellhounds over at the feast. We knew it was going to be a corny thing to get Peter to be Spider-Man again. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm not happy about it. So Peter sees the feast and he's like, no. And of course, Coulson's there and he says, I'm sorry, Peter, they're gone. And Peter says, Randy, Shay, Aunt May, and some poor soul who didn't even commit the crime of knowing me. This isn't how it's supposed to be. I saw their deaths, felt them. This wasn't it. And Cyra informs him, what I showed you was but a possibility. Things changed. And what changed? You refused to call us Seterax and rejected your responsibility as champion. And Peter says, so this is my fault. It felt like nothing mattered, but it does. How could I forget that? Every death I experienced during Cyra's trial hurt less than the grief clawing at me now. What is wrong with me? I've been having a pity party while lives are at stake. Real pathetic, Peter. And I'm just gonna stop. I have to interject again. We can see the Spider-Man suit coming on, but if you're like me, I am tired of this let me be sad and a corny excuse to be Spider-Man again. I get it, that's the moral compass of Peter Parker, but for once in our life, can we have something a little different? But Peter says, I'd rather fail than do nothing at all. The Reeds. If I give you the remaining Reeds of Raggadorr, can you bring them back, Coulson? And Coulson's like, I'm new at this. I'm sure there are ramifications for such a deal. And Peter yells, bring them back, Coulson. Now, I don't know what Peter knows, but yelling at a new employee isn't going to change the rules and regulations. But needless to say, Coulson says, but the Reeds, your last Reeds. And Peter says, bring them back, preferably without the remembering how they died. And Cyrus says, champion, without the Reeds, if you die again, when you die again, it will be permanent. And Peter says, that's a chance I'm willing to take. Do it, Coulson. And just like that, everyone's back alive. Spider-Man says, I'm sorry I wasn't there for you. I'm sorry I let you get hurt. Everyone okay? And Aunt May says, I think so, but what happened? And Spider-Man says, it isn't safe out here. Get inside the feast building. One crisis handled, on to the next. And if you see, the X-Men are still battling these hounds that they've been fighting since last issue. So it's not the same hounds, they just keep multiplying. And Spidey says, since you're still here, any idea how we defeat these things? And Cyra responds, no. There is something about them that feels corrupted, dangerous in a way. I don't quite understand. Those things are controlled by Calyx, but they are not truly his. Spidey says, I already put Calyx down once. Is a rematch allowed under the Covenant? And she responds, there is something more at play. I fear we need to find Calyx and attack him directly. He is the conduit for the power I sense. And Spidey says, on it. And what do we see? Juggernaut coming out of that building that he was tossed into from the last issue. Now, just in case you didn't read the last issue, you gotta remember, this dude Calyx was a weakling. I mean, Spider-Man gave him a ass whooping. And he got infected by the blight, and with one hand, he tossed Juggernaut through a building. So this man has had a major upgrade. And Spidey's like, hey Juggy, have you seen a guy with a bad attitude and an overinflated sense of self? And Juggernaut said, he swatted me like a fly. And you think you got what it takes to stop him? And Spider-Man says, maybe with a little help from the X-Men. And Juggernaut says, that way, go, we're with you. And Spidey says, thanks, I appreciate the assist. Glad I don't have to worry about you pummeling me for once. And I kinda agree with him. I like this side of Juggernaut a lot. I don't know about you guys. But what do we see? Calyx has Scott in this Undertaker-looking chokehold, and he says, "You Earthers truly don't know when to give up." And just then, Spider-Man says, "Yeah, those X-Men are annoying, right? But also great at handling uninvited guests. Look, I know Earth is awesome, but you need to find a new vacation spot." And honestly, this shot of Spidey and the X-Men is phenomenal. They say, "I suggest Jupiter. I hear Saturn is nice this time of year. Seriously, just pick another planet, bro, because you seriously overstayed your welcome." Scott says to Spidey, "We've been giving this guy all we've got. Tell me you have something up your sleeve." And Spider-Man's response, "Doctor Strange taught me a spell that I've been saving just for a moment like this. I'll hit him with it. You guys follow up with your best attacks." And Calyx says, "Welcome back, champion." I cannot decide if this is amusing or pathetic. And Spider-Man says to himself, "The Infernal Spear of Ferical. Strange told me that it was a last-ditch effort spell, since I won't be able to cast anything else for a while after." But this seems like a everything in the kitchen sink moment. And man, look at that blast. Strange told me that spell would decimate anyone, even a Scion. And this man Calyx came out, dusting his shoulders off, no scratches, unfazed, saying, "You haven't been paying attention. Scions are your superiors. And the Blight makes me their superior in every way." And while the X-Men are all doing their best to attack Calyx, Spidey and Juggernaut are having a conversation. Spidey says, "Okay, so that could have gone better. Juggy, what's wrong?" And Juggernaut says, "This energy, it's foul. Feels like, watch out." And Calyx says, "Futile, all of it." And again, more of these hellhounds are everywhere. And even Juggernaut says, "Where do these damn dogs keep coming from?" And Calyx, with this demonic eye, says, "This fight is over. You all just don't know it yet, but you will. Your city, it is already mine. And you can see these dogs are everywhere." And Calyx says, "It is time I left for more promising ventures." Boom, all the dogs explode. And I think everyone's shocked. Spidey says, "He just exploded his dogs. Who does that?" And Juggernaut says, "I don't think he's much of an animal lover." And Calyx responds, "Good luck. Perhaps I will return once I've claimed my father's domain, if anything remains of your planet." Just then, Scott says, "Hey Marco, catch," and blast him right in the face. Spider-Man says, "Whoa, friendly fire." And Syra says, "No." Juggernaut goes in for the attack, and Syra grabs Spidey, and she says, "We need to get out of here." Spider-Man responds, "Hey, what gives? Where are we?" And she says, "A place between your world and mine. We cannot help your friends like this." And he says, "What do you mean?" And she says, "Your friends, they now belong to the Blight. And it's like this all over the city. People have begun to destroy that which they hold dear. Soul rot, I have heard it called. The Blight signature. The fabric of your world is unraveling. Calyx has poisoned it. And you can see the mayhem going on in the background." She continues, "We must stop him. And to do that, we go to the Crimson Cosmos before Calyx can absorb the remaining Scions, as he did Kratios. Nothing matters now but stopping Calyx from gaining more power." And as Spider-Man sits there and thinks about how Doctor Strange warned him about soul rot, he asks Syra, "Why do you suddenly care about Earth? Shouldn't you be, I don't know, celebrating?" And she responds, "There is something worthwhile here. There is still so much I don't understand about humans, but I want to." And Spidey says to himself, "I need her help. I couldn't stop Calyx even with the X-Men. And it seems like he is the key to stopping this. Maybe a little good mojo is exactly what I need. What about Juggernaut?" And she says, "He is unaffected because he is my father's presence here on Earth. He may yet live. Besides, if we fail, existence as we know it will end, so his suffering will be short." And as they go through a portal, Spidey says, "Whoa, this looks like a war zone." And Cyrus says, "No, Cyrios, sister." Even Spider-Man had to say, "Syra, I'm so sorry." And Cyrus says, "All of them, all of my family, dead. Calyx did this. My brother did this." And you can see her whole family is dead on the floor. And she says, "Father, how could you let this? Why does my father not fight back? He is a warrior. This is his domain. And then she says, if my father will not fight, I will. And hold the phone. Listen, I'm signing out, no calls, leave me alone. Battle armor is ready. And how did they make a hot Scion look even hotter? Oh my. She tells Spider-Man, see if you can rouse my father while I find Calyx. Brother, where do you hide? I came to stop you. I crack. What is happening? And just as Spider-Man is hitting Cyttorax and saying, hey, can you hear me? We really need you to wake up and knock some sense into your kid. A portal opens right above Cyttorax. And what comes through? Spidey says, I've been afraid before, but the terror I feel right now makes every other moment pale in comparison. This is the blight, that strange feared. How can we fight something so massive, so powerful? And Calyx out of nowhere grabs Peter by the back of his neck. You don't. Know this with your last breath. My triumph will be complete. Snap. He really just snapped his neck and tossed him to the ground like a piece of trash. And Cyrus sitting there surprised and shocked. And Coulson says, you did your best, kid. Time to go. And honestly, this was a great read in comparison to what they've given us the last few issues. I mean, it was cool to see Peter back as Spider-Man. I just wish they gave us a better recipe on what got him to be Spider-Man again. And I know what you guys are gonna say in the comments. Oh, well, that's what makes him him. It doesn't mean we don't want to see a change once in a while. And Syra, I really need to know what's going on with her. This whole thing about her wanting to know more about humans and being on Peter's side, I have a feeling this is about to be a recipe for disaster for her, especially where Peter gave away all the Reeds that can bring him back to life and now is dead. So they're probably going to kill her off just to bring Peter back. I can see it now and it's going to irritate me. But hey, you guys let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Make sure to join our Patreon and support the channel. Links are in the description. And don't forget to like this video to help the YouTube algorithm. And make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future content. And until next time, thanks for kicking it with Keepin' It Comic.